Good morning. So good to see you all again. I'm Pastor Michael Jarboe, and I just want to say thank you for being in worship. If you are a first-time guest, there's a lot of great churches in Houston, and thank you for choosing this one to be at today. I hope you feel God's Spirit. I felt it with Miss Cece's children's time today and in worship today, and just grateful for that place. And if this is your church home, welcome back. We're so glad that you're here. As I said at the beginning of the service, we're in this sermon series called Difference Makers, or Difference Maker, and talking about ways that we can see what a difference Christ's birth, Christ's life, Christ's ministry makes in our lives, and then in turn, how we can be a difference maker in the world. And so we start at the beginning of Advent. Advent are those 4 weeks before Christmas Eve in Luke chapter 1. And we're going to be in Luke all the way through to the end of Easter. So I hope, and I told this in 9:30 worship service here today, if you're I'm on the brink of wanting to get a good devotional to start off my 2022, find a devotional about Luke and read through Luke with us as a church together. And if you're I don't know which resource to use, come talk to me or Pastor Drew or some of the other pastors, and we can help you in that regard find a good one for you in that life stage that you're in. But Luke is where we're going to be kind of parked in all throughout the early part of the spring. So we're in Luke 2. We're in this unique part of Jesus' story. It's the teenage years of Jesus' life. And we don't think about, I don't know what your image comes to mind when I say Jesus. What comes to mind for you? Maybe most recently it's in the little manger just kind of cooing. But we're going to talk about a part of Jesus' life that we don't talk about a lot when he was 12 years old. And that's where our text comes today. It's in Luke chapter 2, verses 41 through 52. If you have your Bibles, awesome. If you don't have your Bibles, that's awesome as well. The words are right here on the screen, and you can follow along. Don't hesitate to bring your Bibles to worship. It's all good here, but we'll always have them on the screen for you. And again, I want to acknowledge one more thing. I know that the start of a new year can be tough, and it can be fantastic for you. And if wherever you are in the midst of that, I pray that this place today could be a settling spot for you. You can feel God's presence in your life wherever you are today. Thank you for being here. All right, here we go. Here comes awkward Jesus, 41 through 52. Every year, Jesus' parents went to Jerusalem for something called the Festival of the Passover. And when he was 12 years old, they went up to the festival according to the custom. And after the festival was over, while his parents were returning home, the boy Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem, but they were unaware of it. Thinking he was in their company, they traveled on for a day. Then they began looking for him among the relatives and friends. And when they could not find him, they went back to Jerusalem to look for him. And after 3 days, they found him in the temple courts, sitting among the teachers, listening to them, asking them questions. Everyone who heard him was amazed at his understanding of the answers. Now, when his parents saw him, they were astonished. His mother said to him, "Son, why have you treated us like this? Your father and I have been anxiously searching for you." "Why were you searching for me?" he asked. "Didn't you know I had to be in my father's house?" But they did not understand what he was saying to them. So then he went down to Nazareth with them, and he was obedient with them. But his mother treasured all these things in her heart. And Jesus grew in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and with man. This, my friends, is the word of God for us, the people of God, and together we all say, thanks be to God. Amen and amen. I know this is a weird question to kind of begin with today, but do you ever wonder, did Jesus sit in timeout as a toddler? Think about it for a second. Did Jesus go through the terrible twos? I know some of you in this room know exactly what that's all about. Or did he have to sit behind after school because he got in trouble and had to write sentences on the chalkboard? I will not turn Miss Wilson's water into wine. I will not turn Miss Wilson's water into wine. I will. Did he have sudden growth spurts and all in his life? Did he have teenage angst in his heart? Teenage issues? I'm sure Mark Bogart and our youth staff here would love to know if Jesus had that so they could use that for our other teenagers here. I wonder about these things. I wonder about that life that we do not know much about of Jesus, those span of years. Have you ever thought about that? The truth is, only Luke's gospel, there's 4 gospels, only Luke's gospel is the only one in the whole Bible that gives us a glimpse of somewhat of who Jesus was after infancy and before adulthood. And I absolutely love to read about Jesus this way. I mean, hot on the heels of sweet, tiny baby Jesus, this story here at the end of Luke 2 nudges us out of our sentimental manger ideals and confronts us with the awkwardness and adolescence of what it means to grow up, of what it means to be a teen. The scene that the passage sets up looks and feels a lot like probably what a lot of you did over the past few weeks. Like every holiday year, the family packed up their things and they made their way as a big caravan down to Jerusalem. So you got all the aunts, you got the uncles, you got siblings, grandparents, cousins, more cousins, forming this just caravan of celebration to the Passover festival, which was held in the temple. We know that this was a celebration of all celebrations because we have their songbooks today called the Psalms, right? The Psalms talk about praising God, giving thanks to God for the Passover feast. What a good and holy thing it is to be in the house of the Lord. This wasn't an obligation, like people weren't being dragged to the temple. It was a welcome break from the monotony, from the regularity of life. Any of you get a welcome break in the past few weeks? Hopefully you did. Just a breather, right? A welcome break to see the loved ones they haven't seen in a long time. And maybe most important, it was an opportunity for them to go to the temple, like the holiest of ground, to reorient their body and their mind and their heart and soul toward God. But all too soon, the festival was over. They had to wrap things up. And so they pack up everything to go head back home to Nazareth. And so they pack and they get ready. The journey's going. And I bet you when everyone's starting to make their move, there were a few in the group that went way ahead of the group, or maybe stayed back a little bit from the group, needed that slice of peace. Any of you like that? You've been with a family too long. You just need I'm going to go over here. No one's going to know I'm away. I just need a little breather right now. Is that you? Is that one of you? Or maybe there's that person that just gets jazzed up. This is more like me, like hanging all the energy of being around family for so long. I'm just excited. I'm talking off anyone's ear who I can talk to about all that I had seen and heard gathered together. There were others who were talking about the drama of the weekend. Was that one of you this past week? Did you hear what she said to her? Ooh. Or maybe you're one of those that was already working on that checklist for when you got back from the holidays, what you have to do next. Can you see yourself in any of those images? I think you can. And in the middle of all the hustle and bustle, all the different emotions that come from leaving the temple, they realize there is one person of the family missing. It's Jesus, right? That's like the children's moment answer. Any question that you don't know when a children's pastor talks, just say, Jesus. It was Jesus. How could this family lose Jesus? Then you think how hard it might not, or it's not that hard to imagine what Mary and Joseph were thinking in that moment. Right? They couldn't find their boy. They were getting everything settled. Nowadays, parents have an app that you can follow where your son or daughter moves on a touch of a screen. They didn't have that, so everything had to halt. Everything had to stop. This drastically shifted their travel plans as a family. When I think about that image, it's hard not to see that scene from the Christmas classic Home Alone. Hopefully you watched that between 5 to 24 times over the course of December. It's an all-time great movie. When that family is passing back the luggage in the conveyor belt, some of you are nodding your heads, right? Passing back the luggage to all of the family members, and their realization that Macaulay Culkin's character is gone is only found out when the luggage goes all the way back down to the bottom and then comes all the way back up to mom and dad that he did not retrieve it. And if pictures could talk, y'all, this picture could scream, couldn't you? And you remember this image here, right? Catherine O'Hara, just the best. That moment of realization that her son is gone. And what's she saying here? Yeah, that's good. That's good. Like 9:30 service was like, Kevin. I was like, no, it's Kevin! Like a scream, a shout. She's shocked her son's not there. I follow this trio of singers called the TikTok Tenors. Let me tell you, my kind of TikTok is very weird, but this is a TikTok I kind of love. And they portray the scene from the conveyor belt. Check it out real quick on the screen.
Give this to Kevin. Give this to Kevin. Give this to Kevin. Kevin's not here. Kevin's not here. Kevin's not here. What? Kevin!
Right? Can you imagine 3-part harmony, Joseph, Mary, and a donkey just singing, Jesus! Right? Where is Jesus? When Jesus couldn't be found among the caravan, when they had given up all their hopes, the best thing the family could think of to do was to head back and retrace their steps to Jerusalem. And after 3 days of searching for him, 3 days, can you imagine? Can you? Missing a family member for 3 days. Their eyes just filling with the knowledge of what it might mean not to have a child, what it means to lose someone that you love. I wish I could say this is the last time Mary would experience these feelings, but she has another 3 days to wait later on in her life. I wonder as well where Mary and Joseph went when they were retracing their steps to go look for Jesus. I mean, he's 12 years old. Where would a 12-year-old go after running away from his parents? I did some in-depth research this week, and I texted my own parents and said, Mom and Dad, if I was 12 years old, where would you go and find me if I was gone? And they gave similar answers. They said the outdoor basketball court that the neighborhood had nearby our house, or on my bike, kind of riding around. I had season tickets to Six Flags Over Texas in Arlington, and so a bunch of my friends did. So I might have jumped in the back of one of my friend's parents' car and headed there to Six Flags. My mom said probably reading a Goosebumps book, which is, that was right up my alley at that time. My dad said probably at my friend JJ's house, which then my mom one-upped him by having a picture of me and JJ at 12 on her phone. Why do moms have these pictures on their phones all the time? I don't know. Here it is. There's me on the right, just, looking thrilled to be sitting on Santa's lap. That's my buddy JJ. There's Turbo Team, which was my nickname in middle school. Just kidding. Just a boy filled with a mixture of hormones and mischief and just complete and utter embarrassment that my mom made me sit on Santa's lap. What were you doing at 12 years old? Where would your parents, grandparents have found you? One thing I didn't text my parents purposefully is how they might respond if I was lost for 3 days. I didn't want to hear that answer. I don't know if relief would have ruled the day. I don't know if my mom would have said, "Oh, son, you silly goose. You've been gone for 3 days. Come here, it's all good," and smother me with kisses and love. I think it would have been more frustration, more anger. My parents were not mean parents, but boy, would they not have been happy. I feel like at 12, the words I heard the most were, "What were you thinking?" and "Use your head." I think both of those sentiments stay connected to this story here. Mary and Joseph are clearly not pleased in this moment with Jesus when they finally find him in the temple of all places. And they say to him, "Hey, son, why have you treated us like this? Your father and I have been anxiously searching for you." In other words, I feel like my parents are saying, "What were you thinking? Use your head. What were you doing, Jesus?" I would have probably groveled. I would have said, "I'm sorry," in as many languages as I could possibly thought. I would have done everything I could to not stick my foot in my mouth. But Jesus looks his parents in their eyes and he says to them, "Why were you searching for me? Didn't you know I had to be in my Father's house?" What could that have meant in that moment? I know I've had a lot of pondering questions for you all. That's because I don't know either. We don't know this information about who Jesus was, and we're learning from this one unique story. Why this story? I mean, even before Mary felt Jesus growing in her belly, Mary heard the pronouncement of that angel. You remember, we read it a few weeks ago, that he'd be great, that he'd be called the Son of the Most High. He would reign over the house of Jacob forever and ever. She knew he'd be special, but knowing is a funny thing, right? Especially in the realm of faith, because we can know something so fully, and yet in retrospect, we thought we knew something, but then we realize we knew nothing to get us where we are right now. How did we get here? Our knowing is complete in the good news of our faith. We know who Christ is, but our experience helps to expand, helps to grow our faith even more. Jesus' response to his parents that day is like saying, "Hey, this is me, Mom and Dad. Can't you see this place fits me perfectly?" I mean, this is certainly a shock to them, a shock for Jesus to say that. 12 years old. Jesus was a 12-year-old boy. Let that sink in for a second, y'all. 12 years old. We so quickly jump to that, whatever image he is as an adult, maybe as a baby. 12 years old, on the cusp of adolescence, during this time where he's not a child anymore, but he's also not an adult, right? He's developing. He's on that threshold of one season of his life stopping and another season beginning, and they're both kind of coexisting with him. It's a time where he was beginning to embrace his individuality. He was becoming more and more independent, more wise, more fully himself. 12-year-olds are blooming with possibility and personality. They're dipping their toes into places, figuring out what it means to be them, realizing that there's more to the world than just their home that they know. And yet also 12-year-olds crave security. They crave comfort of their family. And although they're becoming more aware of what's cool and what's not, they don't want to tell you what's cool or what's not, because you're definitely not cool. It's time for them to build a deeper connection with family and then to kind of strike out a bunch of times on their own. They are fully comfortable being in the nest. Boy, do they want to spread their wings when they can. So what does this mean for Mary, Joseph? For them, I say, bless their hearts. And bless the hearts of any one of you in this room who have ever had to raise a 12-year-old boy or girl. I sent a text message to my mom and dad saying thank you, but it meant two things. Thank you for sending me that picture and also those images for my sermon, but also thank you for just dealing with me in my adolescence, in my teenage years. Thank you. And so I wonder, because that's part of our faith, is to wonder, is to question, is to think beyond what we can even read on the page. I wonder, was Jesus ever grounded? Did he ever get sent to his room? Was he ever in trouble? How do you navigate this if you're Mary and Joseph? Like I said, I love this text because there's so much unknown. But what we do see for sure is that Jesus, in this moment, makes a decision. And you know what that decision was? He chooses the church. for his very first time on his own. He's not being dragged there. He's not doing it because his family wants him to, but because he wants to be there. Jesus is longing to learn. He's longing to question. He's longing to develop. He's longing to grow. Isn't it interesting? At the end of that chapter, Luke adds this little line about Jesus. And Jesus grew in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. I think that's the difference maker line for me this week. That while I think there's a common consensus in this room that Jesus was a wise person, do you ever stop to think that Jesus grew in wisdom? I mean, our normal pattern of thought is Jesus is this little sweet baby cooing in the manger, and then boom, he's an adult, moving and healing and doing all these incredible things right before he goes to get baptized by John, his cousin, in the Jordan. But the Gospel of Luke sees it important that before we get there, before we make that leap, we need to acknowledge Jesus' growth. Growing in wisdom is a crucial step before he walks, before he begins his journey. And even though the birth of Jesus had been anticipated years before, prophets had foretold that there was talks about the stars in the sky, like Miss Cece said with the wise men, 3 stars up in the sky pointing in the right direction. And yet, we have to believe as a church and hold to it that Jesus didn't get birthed out of his womb into some already full, complete Messiah-ness. You can use that word if you want with your friends, Messiah-ness, whenever that comes up. Like Jesus wasn't some fully assembled action figure ready to go and move. Right? He, like us, had to grow into his future self, into his unique identity. He grew. Jesus grew. His body grew. He changed. He crawled. He took his first steps. He skinned his knee when he was playing outside with his friends at the park. He had growing pains in his sleep. He had the occasional blister in his sandals. He rolled his eyes when his mom swiped his hair out of his eyes that was in his way. He probably had some pimples. There was probably some day when Jesus' voice lowered 2 octaves. He grew into the man that you and I know him today. He grew. He grew in wisdom. He grew to the point where he made his own decisions. He chose to grow in faith. He chose to stay at the temple and devote himself to God's ways. And we have to remember that all of the moments in Jesus' life helped to transform him and helped to make him who he is today. Step by step, becoming himself, becoming more faithful. And so, friends, for my first sermon in 2022, to each and every one of you, my message today is not, you're grounded. What were you thinking? Right? Use your head, each one of you. My ask for you is to ask yourself this question. What are you grounded in? What are you grounding yourself in this in-between stage of life after 1 year, but not fully starting a second year, the next year, right? Or perhaps you are feeling like you're in a transitional place in your life right now. You're coming back to something for the first time you haven't been to in a long time. Maybe you're finding yourself in the church for the first time. You're making your way. You're doing something new. How will you decide to grow this year? What this year has in store for us has not yet been revealed, and that is hard because we know what the past few years held. What's 2022 got in store? We can't control that, y'all, but what we can do is choose and decide where and who we want to be grounded in, and by doing that, it will determine how we grow this year. Because the truth is, we're all on a journey of becoming. We're all becoming. Every single day we're becoming more. You're not too old to grow. You're not too young to grow. The truth is, I pray every day that when you're making that decision, you choose the temple. You choose God. You choose the holy ground to come and reorient yourself again and again, body, mind, and spirit towards God, where the good news of Jesus might feed your souls in ways you didn't know you could be fed. You might grow in wisdom. And so, friends, for 2022, let's make a deal. Let's grow. Let's get grounded together. May it be so. Amen. Amen. Let's pray together. Holy and loving God, this is kind of a tough story to navigate through. We don't have a lot of evidence and presence of your, or knowledge of your life when you were in this in-between time, not in a manger and not walking around in the Near East. It's hard to kind of picture you. And so we have to ask questions, and by asking those questions, it begins to challenge us to think more and more about our own lives and saying, I wonder if we take this path, what it would mean. I wonder if we ground ourselves in this practice, what it could mean. Oh, but the good news of all of that questioning that we bring is that we can trust that you won't leave us floundering out in the water while we ask the questions, that you swim right alongside us, that you are with us in all the doubt and hesitation, the worries and the fear, the hopes and the good things. You are present, and that is good news. So might we carry that into this new year, hoping, trusting, believing what you can do in and through flawed people like us. That's our prayer today. We pray it in Christ's holy name. Amen. Amen.